Hi, and welcome. In this tutorial, we will walk through how to navigate the LYNEports software and create a Vertiport location analysis in just a few minutes. Let's get started. First, you will need to create an account in LYNEports. Please check our previous videos to learn how to create an account or find the link in the description below. After you created your account, you can head to your account in LYNEports and click on My Projects. This will take you to the Projects page. To create a Vertiport, you can identify a location in the search bar. In this example, I will create a project in California. Once I'm at the location, to better understand the site context, we can look at the land use layers by clicking on the Layers button on the top left. Here, we can select and view a range of map layers from airports, parking areas, residential areas, and other land use layers. Next, we can look at the different map styles, which you can find in the bottom right of your Projects tab. We can better understand the airspace map and learn about the restricted areas and different airspace classifications. To learn more about the airspace classifications, you can visit the link in the description. We can also measure the distance between the location we are interested in and the nearest airport, for example. We do that by left-clicking once on your location and then left-clicking again on the airport location. This will give us the result in kilometers and miles. Now we can add the Vertiport location by double-clicking on the map and click on Add Here. You will be prompted then to give your project a unique name and click Next. It will take a few seconds to create your Vertiport site, and when it's done, it will open your Vertiport project page. In this page, you will find your Parameters tab, where you have 4 categories. The aircraft, where you can select the aircraft for your project. The regulation, where you can select the regulatory framework to drive your Vertiport size and geometry, your infrastructure parameters, and the OLS, which stands for Obstacle Limitation Surface or Flight Slope Surfaces. If you are unsure about what each abbreviation stands for, you can go to the toolbar and click on the Info button to see what each abbreviation means. You can also download a high-resolution screen grab, and you can also download the 3D model of the Vertiport by clicking on the Download Vertiport Model button. You can also view the windrows by clicking on the windrows, or upload a GLTF or OBJ model to LYNEports through clicking on the Upload 3D Model button. Now that we learned what the Toolbar and Parameters tab do, we can quickly adjust the location and rotation of the minimal landing pad that was generated with a generic eVTOL aircraft. Now you can click on the Move Generated Model button on the left and move your model. Once you settled on the location, you can lock the location there by clicking again on the same button. Following that, you will want to rotate the Vertiport and align it better with the street. To do that, you can click on the Object Rotate button and move the slider to rotate the Vertiport as you see fit. To save those changes, you can click on Simulate and then save the project. From here, we can see that if we go to the History tab, our changes have been saved, and we can always go back to the configuration without making any changes. To maximize the use of your LYNEports experience and create the Vertiport you wish to have, you can go ahead and select an aircraft from the library. We can see that LYNEports has Joby, Lilium, Volocopter, Archer, EHang, and even a drone aircraft. In case you haven't found your aircraft in the library, you can change the size method to select the largest aircraft dimension and play around with the size to match the aircraft you're intending to integrate. I'm going to click on Simulate button to simulate the changes made and save the project. Following that, we can now move to the regulations. LYNEports offers a range of regulatory frameworks from EASA, FAA, and CASA. LYNEports is also working on expanding to fixed-wing short runway aircrafts and include other regulatory frameworks in its library, so keep an eye on these updates. In my case, I will select the FAA since I am in the USA and click on Simulate and then Save to see those changes. Now we can move to the infrastructure. You have the ability to choose whether you want your vertiport to be on the ground or elevated. You can place it on top of a building too by elevating the vertiport height. You can also use the aircraft as a reference to see how high you want to elevate your vertiport before you simulate your changes. From here, we can decide the shape of the vertiport landing, and if you decide to include the infrastructure, you will be asked to provide the number of aircraft parking stands between 1 to 8 parking stands. And you can also decide on the shape of the parking stands between circular and square. And you can also decide if you want to include a roof, walkway, and a terminal building. In the terminal building category, you can choose the orientation of the infrastructure in relation to the landing pad, the infrastructure distance from the parking stands, and the configuration. At the moment, LYNEports offers only 2 types of configurations, but you can always upload your own design as you feel fit. You can also mirror your configuration around the landing pad and check the recommended safety distances. Don't forget to simulate after any change you make to see those changes. You can also type Enter on the keyboard to simulate those changes. Now that we have the infrastructure, the aircraft, and regulations set, we can head to the flight slope surface. Keep in mind that each regulatory framework has a different flight planning approach and guidance, and even terminologies. That said, let's look at the FAA framework since we're looking in San Francisco. To show the OLS flight slope surfaces, we need to turn them on. This will show us the imaginary surfaces on the map. We can also add transitional surfaces and rotate the flight paths. If you show the Vertiport reference protractor, that will help you in guiding the orientation of the flight paths when you're rotating them. To rotate the flight paths, you can move the slider. In this example, I will rotate the first flight path and click on Simulate. You can also decide if you want your flight surface to be curved or straight by changing the flight path configuration to curved and adjust the radius of the curved flight path. Then simulate to see those changes. Now you can turn on the airspace map and adjust the flight paths and slopes and align with the prevailing wind that are coming from the windrows. In case you would like to have a vertiport that you have designed, you can upload a GLTF or OBJ model to LYNEports by clicking on the Upload button. You can also download the vertiport and re-upload it to LYNEports. This is a trick that can help those who are looking to create multiple landing pads. Keep in mind that in LYNEports you can upload only one model at a time. That's why we recommend you adding all your items in one project model and upload that model. We will also add some links on the best practices for creating GLTF models in various softwares in the description below. After uploading the model to LYNEports, you can now view in real time the Vertiport project in Google Earth powered by Cesium. By clicking on Google Earth View, you will be able to see your Vertiport project in Google Earth. Here, you can adjust the rotation and altitude of your uploaded model, and you can also adjust the rotation and altitude of the Vertiport project. You can also clamp it to the ground and design the environment, such as adding clouds, control their count and height, and adjust the brightness of your project. Now, we can head back to the main page in the project and click the Create Flight Route page button so we can start creating our route. This will take us to the simulation page, where we can also adjust the Vertiport altitude and rotation, and we can adjust the uploaded model altitude and rotation if we have uploaded a model. But now we see a simulation tab added. If you click on the simulation tab to open it up, you will see a coordinate button. Once we click on the button, it will open a clear sheet. In this clear sheet, we will see how our new coordinates for the aircraft will be added on the map, and we can start creating our simulation route for the aircraft. Let's get started. You can click under the Vertiport location twice, since we want the aircraft to go vertical at first. Then we will adjust its altitude. We will make those adjustments from the coordinate sheet, and we can do a rough calculation and assume that the aircraft will fly vertically 10 meters, so about 30 feet. Then we will click in the direction we planned our flight routes and adjust their altitude respectively. After we finish the flight route planning, we can go ahead and simulate. To simulate, click on Simulate button. Keep in mind that you need at least 3 points for the simulation to work. Also, we recommend not going beyond 10 coordinate points, as this will slow down your simulation. Now, we can click on Simulate and adjust the speed of the aircraft from the bottom wheel and the orientation tip of the aircraft from the Simulation tab. You can also adjust the orientation of the aircraft by clicking on the slider once and then use your arrow keys to control the orientation. In case you had any issues with the simulation, you can always go back to the main Vertiport project page and refresh. Your coordinates and routes are saved automatically. And that's it! You've now created a Vertiport and simulated a flight route using LYNEports. If you have any questions, feel free to visit our support page. We are always happy to help and open to your suggestions.